Hello friends, today we are going to talk about integrated healthcare delivery system which is a part of your health systems development. This is the second chapter of the subject. Now, as you remember, we spoke about in the last class regarding the health system, and we spoke about the six components of the health system which are very important. Again, to summarize the same, I will just repeat the various six components. What are these six components? Number one is your leadership. Second, along with leadership, you have to emphasize upon the management as well as the accountability of the healthcare system, the financing of the healthcare. Then we spoke about the manpower for the healthcare. We spoke about the vaccines as well as the infrastructure and the health intelligence. Now, taking a cue, when we integrate all of these things together, okay, then it will comprise of the integrated healthcare system. So according to WHO, integrated healthcare system speaks about the organization and the management of the health service. So here two words are very important. One is organization, another thing is management. Okay, how they are interacting with each other and how it is basically interacting in the way so that the health services are being delivered to the population at large. So this is the organization and the management of the health services so that the people get the health care that they need. So from the stakeholder perspective, the various components are number one, the people should get the healthcare that they need, okay, and actually when they need the time at the time when they actually need the healthcare services should be able to reach them. So we are basically speaking about the accessibility and the availability of the healthcare over here, and then it has to be delivered in such a manner which should be user friendly. That means we are talking about the concept of acceptability. Then why it has to be done? So that we achieve the desired results and it able to provide the value for money. So sustainability of healthcare services is very important. So integrated healthcare speaks about all these important components in totality or comprehensively. So this is a very important concept nowadays. And what is the primary focus of the integrated healthcare system? It is basically talking about providing seamless care, okay, and or coordinated care. As you know, nowadays healthcare is not isolated. It comprises of a whole lot of systems together. It comprises of the various financing mechanism. It comprises of the different manpower, including the doctors, the nursing, the paramedical staff, the support staff. So there has to be an actual coordination between all these things too, so that appropriate healthcare and should be provided to the population at large. So it basically also talks about the interprofessional healthcare group, where a high degree of collaboration and communication is actually required. And the unique thing between them is because there is a basically a sharing of information among the team members which is related to the patient care as well as in order to the making of the comprehensive healthcare plan, so that all the biological, psychological, social, emotional needs of the patient can be met. So this is integrated healthcare system in totality. Now, who is going to benefit from this system? So who are the stakeholders? Like I told you, the various stakeholders are the patient. They are the most important. Then the caregivers, okay, the relatives of the patient. Similarly, the government at large. So the various components of the stakeholder can be divided into, it could be the government, it could be the private players, it could be the NGOs, it could be the patient's immediate family, or the people who are related to the people, to the patients. Then why this coordinated care is important? Because like I told you, we spoke about the 3 A's or 4 A's of healthcare services. It comprised of the accessibility of healthcare services. We spoke about the availability of healthcare services, affordability. So all three and then the acceptability part. So if the integrated healthcare system is being provided to the patient, then it will help in reducing the symptoms. It will enhance the quality of the accessibility of care. It will improve the quality of care. It will reduce the overall cost so that it becomes sustainable, and it has to be equity. So there should be no discrimination between provision of the healthcare services. Then where does it apply? This concept applies to all the primordial prevention. It applies to your primary prevention, secondary prevention, tertiary and quaternary prevention. So when you speak about the levels of prevention. So like I told you, it is divided into 5 components. So what now, the first part, what do you mean by a primordial prevention? Now primordial prevention are basically those measures which were basically taken at a societal point of view or a political socio-political level, so that it basically address the development of the risk factor. It prevents the risk factor to develop. For example, when you frame the public health policies or you frame the public health laws, so basically it will play a big role in prevention of the disease at large. When you talk about the primary prevention, it talks about basically the methods which are used to avoid the occurrence of diseases through the eliminating of the disease agents or to increase the resistance to the disease. For example, vaccination, that is the immunization against the disease, or you maintain a healthy lifestyle so that you prevent diabetes or hypertension to occur in the patient, or you avoid basically smoking. Then when we talk about the secondary prevention, it basically speaks about the curative element. That means already the disease has already stuck in the patient, and you have got various methods in order to diagnose the disease as well as treat the disease through various drugs. Okay, the drugs could be either allopathic drugs, it could be homeopathic drugs, it could be in terms of your Unani medicine or your Ayurvedic medicine. Okay, so these are the various systems which comes into play. When you talk about the tertiary prevention, already the disease has already struck and the damage has been done. It will lead to certain sort of your disability, or in terms of certain impairment is already done. And along with this, how to lead a qualitative life, it talks about the tertiary or the quaternary prevention, talks about all these parts. Now, as far as the quaternary prevention, it again is the methods to mitigate or to avoid results of the unnecessary or the excessive interventions in the health system. Then we will talk about the primordial prevention, the primary and the secondary and the tertiary now in more details. Now to come to the, like I told about the primordial prevention, we are basically speaking like the rules or the frameworks or the measures that has been taken so that the development of the risk factors uh, are not developed. Okay, so at a population level we are talking about the various environmental, economic, social. Okay, for example, like air pollution. So whether you are framing the laws in order that the air pollution can be reduced. Okay, similarly, like take the example in Delhi, you have an odd even system of transportation during winters, so that the air pollution can be kept under check. So it is a way of a primordial prevention. Then the health promotion is very very important in this part, because it will talk about like the new concept about epigenetics, which will help in preventing the diseases to be appeared in a person when in a child when he or she is born. Then similarly, the promoting health will also comprise of the various information regarding their parental ways, how they take care of the child. So these will go in a long way in order to prevent certain disorders which might come into the future. When we talk about the preventive healthcare, okay, then we are basically talking about the prophylaxis. Like I told you, the vaccination. Now diseases and the disabilities, as you all know, they are affected by the environmental factors, by the genetic predispositions, by the disease agents, the lifestyle choices. So as we can all see, like non-communicable diseases, according to the data of 2016 of WHO, we have all seen that almost like 71% of the all the deaths globally is because of the non-communicable diseases, and out of which we know that the cardiovascular diseases, cancer, respiratory and diabetes takes the maximum share of it. So, and these are all known as lifestyle disease, or it can be preventable. How it can be preventable? By taking by doing active exercises, by maintaining a healthy lifestyle, by maintaining a active lifestyle, by using a lot of vegetables. Okay, so these are very very important. So preventive healthcare talks about these factors. Similarly, like when we talk about primary prevention, we talk about the various specific nutrition. For example, the effect of exercise or the nutrition meal in preventing the disease, in order for the longevity of life. Okay, so food is a very important component of it, and exercise is a very very important component of it. Then when you talk about the secondary prevention, you all know, like already the disease has struck. Now we are basically dealing with the latent diseases, and we are basically attempting to prevent a asymptomatic disease from progressing to the symptomatic disease. So here again, depending on the root cause, we are going to do a root cause analysis, where we are basically trying to limit the effect of the disease, and we are trying to making we try to make a early diagnosis and a prompt treatment, in order so that the disease should not be spread to the other individual, as well as there is a disability limitation could be there. So this is a very very important concept. Then when you talk about the tertiary prevention, now tertiary prevention basically will talk about, basically the damage has already been done, okay, but it also focuses about the various aspects, so that whatever damage has been done, it has to be, curtailed at a certain point. So the goals of tertiary prevention is basically preventing pain and damage, for halting the progression, from halting the complications from the diseases, and restoring the health and the functions of the individual which are already affected from disease. Okay, for example, like stroke patients, when we talk about, so we will be talking in more details as we progress in this chapter. Then like I told you, that health promotion is a very very important component when you talk about the integrated healthcare system, because it will help the people to increase control over and improve their health. So health promotion is a very very important component, and it has got three pillars, as you can see from the slide. So it has an issue about the good governance, so it also talks about the accountability, the health literacy regarding about the and the healthy cities. So how much health is being promoted in a healthy city, how much people are active. For example, if we compare Indians with the Africans, or Indians with the Europeans, so we will see we lead a very unhealthy lifestyle. Now, in order to reach a complete state of complete physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being, so all the health promotion is very very important. Now health is basically, as you know, is a positive concept, and it basically emphasizing upon the social and the personal resources. So it's not just a responsibility of the health sector, but also a responsibility of the people and the society at large. Now when we talk about the promotive healthcare, so health promotion is basically, as you can see, it's a broad umbrella. It is talking about the political action to change the political policies. It talks about the responsibility of the owners towards his employees. Then most people, as you know, that they know the basics, but then when we ask them why you are following an unhealthy lifestyle, they don't know the reasons for it. Okay, they said no, we know all these things, but still we don't do. Now this is a big science, because it talks about the behavioral aspects of health. Then health, so it from this topic we'll come to the another topic, that means health education is a very very important concept. Okay, so how do we health as a whole, because generally human nature is such that when we fall ill, then we always say, or we take pledge that next time I will take care of her. Why don't we take care of the health when we are already healthy? So health education are being classified into three types. The education about the body and how to look after it, basically also talks about how to access and use the health information, and how do we use that in education about the national and the regional policies. So as you know, like from here, the health education can be classified into three types, that is the primary health education, secondary health education, and tertiary health education. Now what are these three areas? Let us now understand. So in this slide, as you can see, a primary health education is basically directed towards healthy people, and it aims to prevent the illness and to raise the health status of that person. So that means, like you simply say, like that smoking is not good, or doing exercise is very good, or maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So it's a type of a primary health education. When you talk about the secondary health education, so secondary health education is directed towards ill people and aims to prevent the progression towards the chronic state at the restore the patient. For example, a person has already got diabetes. Now you see, okay, you have to take sugar, but if you maintain an active lifestyle, you can maintain the sugar at a normal value level. If you don't do it, then this problem will rise, and your multi organ failure can develop in a later course of life. So this is very very important. And what do you mean by a tertiary health education? It concerns with educating people and their relatives and the care how to make the most of the remaining potential of for healthy living. You already know, for example, a person is suffering from arthritis, he has got rheumatoid arthritis, he knows it is basically a palliative therapy has to be given, he has to live with this disease, but how you can ensure the measure that the quality of life is not compromised and he leads the very healthy life. It's talking about the tertiary health education. So you have seen, like, basically the health promotion goals are basically to give people appropriate education and information in order to help people to examine these informed choices, to help people to develop the skills to analyze and recognize alternative choices and how to go about these choices, and to empower people to be able to make informed decisions about their health. So this is very very important aspect. Now let's come to the second part, that is the curative healthcare. And I have already said, like, curative healthcare is basically healthcare which is given for the medical conditions because already the disease has struck. So it differs from preventive healthcare because we already know that the disease has struck, and here we cannot do much, but we have to diagnose the disease and we have to treat the disease. So curative healthcare refers to the treatment and the therapies which is provided to the patient with the full intent of fully resolving an illness and the goal of bringing patient ideally to the status which was before the illness. So this is very very important. For example, we will take the case of breast cancer. So when we do a resection surgery or we do basically a chemotherapy, it is in order to curb the disease, and slowly and steadily the person from the first stage needs to be brought to the pre-cancer stage. So this is of extreme importance. Then when we talk about the curative care, the examples could be antibiotics, chemotherapy. For a broken limb, we put up a plaster cast. Then for a kidney failure patient, the dialysis has to be given, and for appendicitis patient, surgery has to be done. Appendicectomy has to be done. So from here we'll come to the tertiary, that is the rehabilitative care. Now before rehabilitation care, as you know that the disease has already struck, it has, and but we are basically helping the person to achieve the highest level of function, independence and quality of life irrespective of the disease. So rehabilitation, as we know, that it is not going to reverse or undo the damage, okay, but it will rather help the person to have the optimal health functioning and the well-being. So rehabilitation medicine is basically designed to meet person specific needs. Okay, so here what we are doing here, we are basically trying to achieve four components. Number one, we are trying to treat the basic disease and preventing the complication. We are trying to treat the disability and improving the function. We are providing the adaptive tools and altering the environment for the patient, and we are also teaching the patients and the family of the patient to adapt to the healthy lifestyle. So now we come to this question, like, why we need rehabilitation. Okay, because we know that already the disease has struck. If we don't take care, or we don't give treatment during that, it will go from bad to worse, and it will be a burden on not only on the society but not only on the family but also the society and the nation as a whole. So the goals of overall rehabilitation is to help to get to the abilities back and regain the independence of the person. For example, the person is suffering from cerebral palsy or stroke, but he is not being a burden to the family and he can maintain his life well independently. So depend on what so it basically we are doing to do a cause analysis, like what is the cause of this thing, how, what is the social strata the person belongs to, what is his economic condition, what is social condition, and what can be the best therapy or the way in order could be made so that the person can live a qualitative life. So these things are very very important. Like, for example, again, a person who has gone through a cardiac rehabilitation, he a heart attack, will go through a cardiac rehabilitation, and he exercises, he can basically improve the quality of his life. So these things are very very important. So from here we are coming to the concept of disability, because if we have to understand the concept of rehabilitation, we have to understand the concept of disability. So they are basically three things. Number one is the impairment, disability and handicap. Also, what is the difference between the three? Impairment is basically a loss of an anatomical or a physiological body part, whereas because of that loss of body part, if you are unable to do what you used to do before, it is known as disability. For example, suppose there was a driver, he used to drive a bus, a school bus, and he was leading a very good life. Now tomorrow there's an accident takes place, he lost his hand. The losing of the hand is known as impairment, whereas previously he was used to ride the bus, but now because his hand has been cut, so now he cannot get the position of the driver in the school. So he is being not kicked out of his job, but he now becomes a peon in the school. So previously, so not being able to drive the bus is basically known as disability. So what the if you can see in this slide, the disability is the dysfunction of the any of the body part or mind leading to difficulty in performing one or more activities. So the activity of driving what he used to do previously now is unable to do now. So this is known as disability. And handicap, when basically the disability integrates and it affects the social, emotional, and the economic well-being of a person, it is known as handicap. Now if he loses his job because of the hand problem, then it becomes a handicap. So if you can see from the slide that there are different types of disability. There's a physical disability, neurological disability, mental, hearing, speech, and visual. So in terms of, suppose if we talk about the physical disability, so physical disability could be, examples could be your polio, amputation, or accidents, like just I told you, a person's hand has been cut. Then when we talk about hearing disability, it speaks about the congenital problems of hearing, then the otitis media, perforation, neurosurgery, labyrinthitis. So these are the various examples of your hearing. When we speak about the visual disability, then the contributions which when the condition which is contributing to your visual disability is your cataract, glaucoma, trachoma, or vitamin A deficiency. So these things are basically leading that the person might become blind and is unable to see, or he or she is unable to see. Then the speech, we are basically talking about the congenital deformity in the brain damage, like in cerebral palsy. Or mental health, the disability, the factors which is leading to disability could be your congenital depression, schizophrenia, because it is affecting you and is unable the person to lead a normal life. In terms of neural factors, the condition could be your epilepsy, quadriplegia, hemiplegia, or cerebrovascular accident, or popularly known as the stroke. So these are the various condition, and you should know about the strategies. But before strategies, you should know about the causes. So what are the various causes of these disabilities? So the causes could be, because if you know the causes, then only your strategies is going to work. So the causes could be, it could be a communicable disease, it could be a non-communicable disease, it could be a psychiatric in origin, it could be because of drug abuse, it could be trauma or injury, there could be nutritional deficiency. If it is at birth, then it could be both genetic as well as non-genetic. So example of genetic could be your mental retardation, hearing impairment, your speech impairment. Non-genetic could be your birth trauma, asphyxia, forceps delivery, or malnutrition. As far as your communicable disease is concerned, which is related with the causing of the disability, could be your polio, tuberculosis, leprosy, trachoma, meningitis. As far as the non-communicable disease is concerned, it could be your cancer, diabetes, nephritis, rheumatoid arthritis, cerebral vascular accidents. So these okay, so these are very, very important cases. So because of these disabilities, the person can be affected at the individual level, family level, or the community level, and henceforth the rehabilitation strategies has to be made in terms of the individual based, or institutional based, or community based, or in terms of outreach services. So it is very, very important, like as far as the strategies is concerned. So basically, when you talk about a community based rehabilitation, so we have to manage the consequences, so that we have to address the society as a large. For example, we have to change the attitude of the people towards the people who are handicapped. We have to give them more opportunities. We have to prevent disability through various interventions. We have to detect them early. We have to give them prompt treatment. We have to rehabilitate the handicapped people. We have to train our health staff. We have to go for a school health program, so that it could be equitable in nature, and we have to do a lot of medical researches. So again, when you talk about prevention of disability, the same concept, the primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention could be used. Okay, so these are the various aspect by which these strategies has to be done. Now coming to this point, So when I am talking about community based rehabilitation, in community based rehabilitation, what is happens, it is basically a strategy of developing a rehabilitation services in the community so that the equalization of opportunity could be given to all, and there is an attempt for the social integration of the disabled. That means we are doing a collective effort of the disabled, the family and the community for the rehabilitation. So along with physical exercises, which is done basically by the physiotherapist or the occupational therapist, along with this, the health education and vocational training has to be imparted so that they become self independent working, and they are basically earning. When we talk about the institutional based rehabilitation will be provided by the training centers in the hospitals or the rehabilitation centers. The person has to be given exercises under the supervision. For example, for cerebral palsy children, they have been made to learn how to walk. Okay, so the developmental milestones which have been delayed, they have been taken care of. And then similarly functions as a referral center for the, so the institutional based rehabilitation will be functioning as a referral center for research and the other activities. Now as far as the outreach program services is concerned, so it is very very important, because here what is happening, here the experts from the hospital, they basically visit the community and the home for providing education and training to the disabled. For example, for self care, for ambulatory effect, for communication, for various guidances, okay, for vocational guidances. And then, for example, in India there is an organization which basically it's a call center where it utilizes the blind people for his services, because they have to speak on phone. So at the same time, while he gets a very good manpower, at the same time the people get help because they are being employed. So this is a very very important concept. And then efforts has to be taken in order to integrate the community rehabilitation centers with the institutions so as to provide the maximum rehabilitation coverage to the all parts of the country. So this is very very important. Now from here, if you see the, so at an individual level, when I've just told you, so there has to be a physical intervention that has to be given. So how a physical intervention, so basically it will depend on the rehabilitation program. So any rehabilitation program will comprise of a physical intervention, a psychological intervention, vocational and an educational intervention. So a rehabilitation will comprise of all these components. So what do you mean by a physical intervention? Physical intervention basically speaks about the various physical exercises which is given by the physiotherapist for the joint movement, for it is basically for restoring of the functions of the effective body parts. And then similarly you are basically giving assistive devices, as you can see from the slide over here. We are basically giving assistive devices to the person, okay, like this. So the assistive devices are basically given, the splints are being given, the relief of pain has to be taken care of, application of hot and cold packs has to be given. And then in terms of hemiplegia, bladder and bowel exercises has to be made them learn in order to prevent incontinence. Similarly, training in the activities of daily living, ADLs has to be taken care of so that the lost function can be restored, and education of the patient to maintain the physical status and returning to normal life can be facilitated. Similarly, when we talk about the psychosocial interaction, so you can see over here, cognitive rehabilitation and mental health is very very important. So the process of rehabilitation is not complete, as you know, without a psychosocial intervention. So why it is being done? It is being done in order to raise the morals of the patient, for counseling, for positive attitude, to support, for the sympathy. And for this to happen, the sympathetic attitude of the doctors, family members and the community support is very very important. Psychotherapy is also important for depression as well as anxiety, for personality changes, and for suicidal tendencies, okay, in order to take care of all these things. And you basically try to help the person by means of providing financial support, or what are the various, so here the various players are very very important, like what the government is going to do, what the private company is going to do, what the NGOs are going to do. So here that's why it is called as integrated healthcare. Then in order to support the patient at large. Then when we talk about the various educational intervention, the educational intervention could be in terms of preschool training, the special schools for the children for day to day life, and then disability friendly infrastructure has to be made. And you can see here various therapies such as music therapy, art therapy can be there. And then so these are the various aspects. And so infrastructure, educational intervention, wheel provision of wheelchair, special support system, so these are very very important from those point of view. And see over here it is being written vocational rehabilitation. Now what is a vocational rehabilitation? The the efforts has to be made to in order to promote vocational training for learning, for earning according to the type of disability. Okay, so we have to explore the various types and the extent of vocational training which is suitable to the level of disability. One has to be caring, sympathetic, supportive in assisting the disabled. And vocational training centers are being made by the government of India, and even the placement opportunities have been given so that they can lead a healthy lifestyle. So as far as the various welfare measures is concerned, it is a very very important component, because as far as various welfare measures, for example, see, these people are very different from the normal people because they require more help. So scholarship can be provided in terms of the for the physical handicap so that they can go to schools. Similarly, admission quota can be provided for the disabled in the school and the colleges. The seats can be reserved for the handicapped in the government services. Separate employment exchange agency could be provided for the handicap for the jobs. Then a handicap friendly environment can be made in terms of in the offices, hospitals, toilets, lifts, ramps, wheelchairs, and the porters. Seat could be reserved for the handicapped people in the buses and the transport. Special transport allowances could be given for the for the handicaps and for the concessional rail tickets. And then more and more rehabilitation centers can be opened for them at the district and the PHC level. And you can also provide them with various other medical at the physical aids facilities such as the artificial limbs, etc. So I think like you have been able to understand and able to comprehend all sort of integrated healthcare as a whole. Thank you for watching this video,